The nervous system and the senses. The nervous system is the body's communication network. It's like a supercomputer and controls everything the body does. The main parts of the nervous system are the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves. Nerves fan out from the brain and down the spinal cord to carry messages in tiny bursts of electricity. There are thousands of kilometres of nerves running throughout the body. Sensory nerve signals travel from the senses of touch, sight, smell, hearing and taste to the brain. The brain processes this information. Then, motor nerve signals travel away from the brain to the muscles and glands and tell them what to do. All this happens very fast. Some nerves can send messages as fast as 300 kilometres an hour. The brain is made up of three main parts. The cerebrum is the largest part of the brain, and this is where the nerves send the sensory signals. It is divided into two halves which are joined. The cerebellum is called the little brain and controls muscle movement and balance. The brain stem connects the cerebrum to the spinal cord and carries nerve impulses between the brain and the spinal cord. It also controls things like heartbeat and breathing, things our bodies do automatically. The spinal cord starts at the base of the brain and goes down most of the spine. It carries messages to and from the brain. The nervous system controls the way our body systems work together. Nerves and the information they send to and from our brain and spinal column are an important part of protecting our body. Our ears, eyes and other sensory organs are all part of the nervous system. The body has 6 senses: touch, smell, taste, hearing, seeing, balance. Touch allows us to feel. It works because we have sense receptors all over our body, just below the skin. The sensitivity of the receptors varies. Some body parts have more receptors and this makes them more sensitive. The senses of smell and taste work closely together. Smell detects substances in the air. Smells enter the nose and stimulate the tiny hair-like endings on the smell receptors deep inside the nasal cavity. The tiny hairs on the receptor receive the smell, and the other end of the receptor sends the information about the smell to the brain. The sense of smell can warn us if something might be dangerous. The sense of taste identifies things that are good to eat or drink, and also dangerous things. The tongue's receptors can only detect 4 tastes: sweet, salty, sour, and bitter. Taste receptors are clustered together in taste buds, mainly around the edge of the tongue, not the main middle area. Most taste buds are along the tip, which detects sweet tastes. Salty tastes are along the front sides, sour along the rear sides, and bitter across the back. You can't see taste buds. They are protected by all those bumpy little things on our tongues called papillae. Each one can contain thousands of taste buds. We hear through our ears, but all the action happens inside the ear. The ear is like a funnel and moves sound waves along a short tunnel called the ear canal until it reaches the eardrum, which is tight skin about the size of a fingernail. When sound waves hit the eardrum, it vibrates or shakes and sends the vibrations on to the 3 smallest bones in the human body. These are called ear ossicles, that means tiny bones, and they send the vibrations on to the cochlea, which looks like a small snail. Inside the cochlea, the vibrations go through fluid and shake rows of thousands of tiny hairs, which make nerve signals that flash along to the brain. Damage to our inner ears can also affect our sense of balance. Sight. The eye detects brightness, colours, and patterns of light rays, and changes these patterns into nerve signals that go to the brain. Most of the information in our brains comes from our eyes. An eye is like a ball. At the front of the eye is a clear bit, the cornea. Behind the cornea is the iris, which is the coloured part of the eye. In the middle of the iris is a black hole. This is the pupil, which expands and contracts to control the amount of light let in. The light then goes through a small lens which bends the light rays so they shine a clear picture onto a very thin screen called the retina. The retina has millions of tiny cells which detect the light and send nerve signals along the optic nerve to the brain. It's the brain that makes sense of the signals and says, "Yes, I see a dog." To keep balanced, we use information from some of the other senses, such as sight and touch. It's actually our inner ear which produces a sense of balance, and our muscles keep us upright. So our senses are also connected to our nervous system and our brain and our muscles. What we sense determines what we do. Our senses give us information about the world. As we get older, our senses change and are not so sharp. These changes can affect our appetite, sense of touch, sense of balance, the ability to see, and our communication with other people.